Ready?
Hello and welcome to the United States Sports Academy here in Daphne, Alabama. This is the weekly sports talk, which you can watch live online. My name is Ben Billman, and I'm a doctoral teaching assistant here at the United States Sports Academy. And to my left, your right, is Chris Coker. He's the Director of Continuing Education here at the Academy. And behind the camera, you can't see her, but another doctoral teaching assistant, Sarah Weber, who is the producer of Sports Talk. So we want to welcome everybody here today on Wednesday at 11:30 Central. We're going to be covering a hodgepodge of topics today. But to begin with, obviously we just had the Super Bowl this past Sunday. Amazing comeback. The Patriots won 34-28 in overtime. Chris, what were some of your thoughts about the game or the comeback or just your general thoughts on it?
I think no lead is safe, especially at halftime. Whether it's a short halftime or a long halftime, no lead is safe. And it's a testament of how you have to play and coach every down, every play, and everything is significant. Whether you can imagine how a couple more first downs would have done for that game for Atlanta, but it's really a testament of how well prepared you have to be to succeed at that level. Every play counts in a game like that.
Yeah, and I thought the Falcons outplayed the Patriots most of the game. Tom Brady, though, and we mentioned him getting the MVP, his fifth ring, and also Bill Belichick, his fifth ring. When you have that much experience, that much composure, it was an amazing comeback, but it, at least to me, wasn't that surprising that they came back. Maybe it was because of the youth or the inexperience of the Falcons, but just an incredible comeback, but really, when they won in overtime, I was not that surprised by it.
I think you take two guys like Belichick and Brady who've been together for so long. As individuals, they're very talented people. They're very capable people, but they have that rare relationship that when they're together in moments of crisis, and I would imagine going into halftime with a score like it was a moment of crisis, especially when the Falcons scored again in the third quarter. But in those moments of crisis, and you have talented people with that kind of relationship, I think their relationship may have made the difference at the end of the day. Just how can we've been here before, we've been in situations like this, how can we make it work? Being a united relationship with the team and everybody rallies around that unitedness, and you just kind of late in the game, there was no divisiveness in terms of the Patriots. But those guys, their relationship together is really what makes them. Their greatness is really a big contributor to what makes them great is their relationship and how they work together.
Yeah, and I think the big question now, and I know all the pundits are talking about it now, but is Tom Brady the best quarterback of all time? Is Bill Belichick the best coach? In my opinion, yes. What do you think? Can you think of any coaches or quarterbacks that can compare at this point?
I don't think so. I mean, you can't say they're not the greatest. You maybe argue that there are other great ones out there, and there are, but it's hard to say they're not the greatest. And so you look at their accomplishments on the field with 5 Super Bowls and look at what they've done. It's hard to say they're not the greatest, even though there may be other people out there who would say, hey, we're great too. But it's hard to say they're not the greatest.
Yeah. And I don't know what the update on this story is, and Sarah, you may know, but I know Tom Brady's jersey was stolen.
Has not been found.
And they still haven't located his jersey, and people say that jersey, if you put it up for auction, could be $100,000 or more, based on Patriots fans wanting that piece of memorabilia. So it will be interesting to see the legacy of Brady and Belichick. And at least at this point, at least in my opinion, I think Brady has 3 or 4 good years left in him. He doesn't look like he's slowing down at all. In fact, I think he's getting better year after year after year. Do you think he can play for a while more?
I think he can play for a while more. Brett Favre played in his early 40s. He's a drop-back quarterback. He doesn't take as many hits as an option quarterback, so he's not pounded on physically as much, even though he does get hit from time to time. So, barring major injury, and assuming that they keep some of those key pieces around him, yeah, it's very plausible he could play another 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, and that's scary because they're a team that going into next year is probably the favorite, and I don't know who else would even be close at this point. They've got to be the team to beat going into next year.
The only other team that, on the reverse side of that, given their experiences, it will be the young Cowboys. The young Cowboys will definitely, given if they continue to improve at the rate they did this past year, a young but talented Cowboys team will be another noisemaker. But you're right, they'll be the favorites, but the contenders for the next spot may be the Cowboys.
Yeah, and I really like the Cowboys, and they've got a bright future. That's for sure.
Funny about the media comments because Tom Brady said yesterday his wife wants him to retire, but he doesn't want to.
I say stick it out as long as possible. And talking about that and retiring and moving on and legacies, let's talk a little bit about the Hall of Fame inductees. You may have seen before the game and during the game, they talked about these guys a lot, but there were 7 Hall of Fame inductees, and I'll just read down the list of who they were. Running back, LaDainian Tomlinson. Running back, Terrell Davis. Quarterback, Kurt Warner. Defensive end, Jason Taylor. Kicker, Morton Anderson. Safety, Kenny Easley. And the Dallas Cowboys owner, Jerry Jones. Any of those names stand out to you, or any facts or figures you have about any of those guys?
The one that sticks out is a reflection of our youth. That's one of the great things about sports is we kind of chronicle our life. As a sports fan, when I was younger, I always used to watch Morton Anderson kick. I mean, if he was in the building, he could kick right through. And his, given what he did, what he's done, I think he's holds or held scoring records for the Atlanta and New Orleans Saints. And if I remember right, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he may have been the guy who kicked the game-winning field goal that helped the Falcons go to the Super Bowl, if I remember correctly. But his historic career is, it's incredible for somebody to put up that many, those kinds of numbers for that long and stuff. And age and time wear upon us all, but to be able to play as long as he did with a repetitive, strong leg that he had, that his leg held up for that many years, and was that accurate. And again, it's a reflection of my youth. I can't help being a Morton Anderson fan.
Sure. I look at Kurt Warner, and I know there were questions when he retired whether he would be a Hall of Famer because his career was a little bit shorter. He got a later start on his career, but he led the Rams and the Cardinals both to the Super Bowl. He was 1-1 with the Rams, and then he lost the game with the Cardinals, but still 3 Super Bowls with 2 different teams and 1 title in a fairly short span. That was impressive. And then, as we talked about earlier, Terrell Davis had a very short career, but how many he won?
Two Super Bowls in 6 years or something to that effect.
Yeah. And obviously, me being a little bit younger, LaDainian Tomlinson is a guy that, as I grew up, I watched, and just a phenomenal player, but never really had much of a team around him to do much in the playoffs or beyond. So,
you kind of wonder if everybody has to have an exit strategy. From your playing career, it comes to an end for everybody. But you kind of wonder with those guys how much they had some good years left. You can't help but believe they have some good time left in them, but chose to walk away more at the higher point of their career versus one of the lower points of their careers and stuff. And especially with a team like the Chargers, who with their Super Bowl history, trying to win a Super Bowl. When you have a player like LaDainian Tomlinson, you need to cash in, but it never come to fruition for him.
Right, and the same with Jason Taylor. Played most of his career with Miami, and really he was there in the lean years, and I mean he came in right at the end of Marino's career, I believe, and they just never really capitalized on having Jason Taylor on the defensive front, which is too bad. Like I said, a lot of the guys on this list, other than Terrell Davis and Kurt Warner, they never had the extended period of success on a team scale as much as some other guys in recent years, and that's kind of a pity that we haven't seen, other than Kurt Warner and Terrell Davis, a lot of these guys played on struggling teams in the NFL.
And it's a testament to show that even at the level like the NFL, even though you're on a quote-unquote bad team, the team doesn't win very many games, bad teams are very talented. And I think it's a testament how difficult it is to win at that level, and how many, what Belichick, it's a reflection of what Belichick and Brady have done together. They can win at that level like that. When, you look down this list and see a lot of talented players who come close to having that kind of success.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a testament how difficult it is to win a Super Bowl and to be successful at that level, even though you're a very talented athlete.
Mm-hmm.
And keep your team talented year
Yeah.
after year.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of hard to measure moving parts.
Mm-hmm. So let's put it into football now. Football season is over, at least in my book. I know down here in the South, recruiting and signing day was last week, and spring games are coming up. But for right now, let's focus on basketball a little bit because that's the real man's sport. So we're going to talk about basketball for a while. Let's start with pro basketball. One of the big topics right now is Cleveland, who has struggled a little bit since the beginning of the year. And there have been some grumbling, some people say whining by LeBron about the way his roster's been put together on the Cavs. Some rumors recently that maybe Carmelo Anthony might be traded for Kevin Love. They're looking for a playmaker, but LeBron denies it, but then other people are saying, well, it could happen. What are your thoughts on LeBron? What are your thoughts on this whining or grumbling and how it's all playing out for the Cavs?
I think LeBron's whining and complaining is nothing new. I think great players of the past, ever how far back you want to go, have had issues or have had input on the roster. I think the day and age we live in, as prevalent as the media is, it leaks out a little easier. So I think his complaining and stuff is nothing necessarily new.
Mm-hmm.
It's just we know more about it. I will say this: the things I see different than say when I grew up with Jordan was playing and stuff. I think there's been some great players like Charles Barkley, John Stockton, Karl Malone, who never won championships, who because they played during the Jordan era.
Mm-hmm.
And this generation, it's not a criticism. I think it's just a difference. This generation, you saw LeBron go to Miami and put together an all-star cast of players. You've seen what's going on in the Golden State this year. I do think in this generation of NBA, you see players, talented players, who pull together to win a championship that you haven't seen before. And so I think Carmelo and Anthony coming, I think it's just that piece of this generation in the NBA. They're trying to get together the best talent. I think the hard part about doing that is just finding the right chemistry.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I like Carmelo offensively, but when you look at Kevin Love and what he's able to do as the third option on that team, and the way he plays defense and rebounds, I don't see that being a good trade, just in the sense that if Carmelo comes to the Cavs, he immediately is going to want the ball. And on the Cavs right now, you got Kyrie Irving and you got LeBron, and those are options 1 and 2, 1 and 1A, whichever way you want to look at it. If Carmelo comes, then you got 3 guys who all demand the ball. And I don't think Carmelo is going to be able to blend with that team the way Kevin Love does, where when he gets the ball, he can do something with it, but he does not demand the ball on a possession-by-possession basis. And so for that reason, I don't understand that trade at all, but I agree. A team like the Warriors is building chemistry right now. It looks like they're getting better and better. They're obviously scary, and I think LeBron is looking at what they're doing, and I think he can already see in his mind when the NBA Finals roll around, we need another guy, and they don't have that right now. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
I think one of the toughest demands by the NBA is an 82-game schedule. People get tired. You don't feel near as well on game 10 as you feel in game 8. You're physically tired. So having that extra all-star talent, if you will, and I could say could be, like you say, be an asset in the event of an injury, in the event that you got to have somebody else has got to have another scorer on the floor. But I think chemistry is the key, and got to have talent, but talent doesn't always equate to chemistry.
Yeah, and I look at the Eastern Conference right now, and even without another playmaker, obviously injuries can change the picture. But when I look at Cleveland, I think, at least looking at the East the way it's set up, there's nobody in the East that over a 7-game series is going to be able to challenge the Cavs, even if they don't have another playmaker like LeBron wants. But on the other side, I look at the Warriors. I think the Spurs have the chemistry, and Kawhi Leonard is playing it at a high level. Those two teams, I think, are the ones that LeBron is looking at and is really nervous that if he plays them, it's going to be trouble.
Because they have the intangibles in
Yeah.
place.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're almost to All-Star break in the NBA, so we should start seeing some more breakdowns and potential playoff matchups and things like that. But at this point, it looks like the Cavs, the Warriors, and the Spurs, at least for me, as the championship contenders. Is there anyone else you would add?
No, that would go with my list.
Yeah.
It's hard to go outside that list
Yeah.
and find a legitimate contender, a team that can win 4.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's focus to. Go ahead.
Yeah, we forgot to give the UConn women's basketball update.
Are they to 96 now?
8.
They're at 98.
They won last night. They beat Cincinnati 96-49. So now their streak is at 98.
98. They've got one more conference game before they play South Carolina, correct? Is that the schedule?
Yeah.
And South Carolina is a top 5 team coached by Don Staley, who is a former Olympian, former WNBA player. And that team's going to be scary, but I mean, it would be incredible to get to 100 wins.
I would like to see it. Just say that I could say that I've seen it. I would like to see them win 100. Not rooting for or against anybody. I would just to win 100 games in a row is just it's hard to imagine.
Their last loss was November 17th, 2014.
Wow. That's hard to believe. Gino does a great job there. Their men's team is struggling this year, but the women are just continuing to roll. It's really incredible what they've been able to do there. So that's a good segue to college basketball, though. We've got about 1 month, just over a month left in the college basketball regular season, and we're in the heart of the conference schedule right now. And I believe we're about 4.5 weeks away from Selection Sunday, which is a really exciting day for
March
seedings
12th.
and brackets and everything. So, Chris, at this point in the season, obviously we still got about a month to go. There can be a lot to happen. Are there any teams that you've got your eye on as either being title contenders or maybe teams that are on the rise that could potentially become title contenders?
You know, it's hard to go against Villanova and Kansas right now. I know
Mhm.
Kansas lost earlier recently to Iowa State at home, but they've got a great combination of experience, talent, and coaching.
Mhm.
It's hard for me to bet against Kansas and stuff. But you look down, go down to about 12 or 13. There's a lot of talent still down as far down as 11, 12, or 13 who
Mhm.
are capable of winning, whether it's a Wisconsin or Florida State. It's. I know we're defined by those top 3 or 4 schools, but boy, you go down and there's still some talented people down there.
Mhm.
North Carolina's floating around down there around 9 or 10. Arizona.
Mhm.
I wouldn't want to play Louisville in the early rounds of the tournament.
No.
And my biggest question mark is of the top teams is probably Gonzaga. They're
Mhm.
talented. They've done some things, but they really haven't played the kind of schedule that Kansas has played, as
Mhm.
a Carolina has played, or Arizona and stuff. And I do think going into February, you need to have the momentum rolling into the tournament.
Mhm.
Winning big games that you would face in the Big 12 gives you that momentum. I don't know if Gonzaga how hard it is going to be for them to build that kind of momentum going into March.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you too on Arizona. They're a team that I really look at right now as coming together. They're getting healthy. They had a guy, Alonzo Trier, I believe his name was, come
Mhm.
back from suspension a couple weeks ago, and they look very scary right now.
His first game back was their win against UCLA.
Yeah, UCLA, that's right. Villanova, it wouldn't blow me away if we had a rematch in the national championship of Villanova, North Carolina. Villanova, lots of experience. The core from last year's championship team is back. They're in first in the Big East. They're on pace to get a number 1 seed. Jay Wright is a phenomenal coach. And then North Carolina has a lot of experience. Justin Jackson is playing really good basketball. And they're at the top of the ACC, which
They're doing it quietly, too.
it's very quiet. The ACC 15 deep, and really there's not an easy game on the ACC conference schedule. So that is a scary conference that could get, I don't know, I think they could get 9 or 10 teams in the tournament. Do you think?
Oh, I think easily the teams. I think recently the latest edition of bracketology came out. And I think they had 10 teams.
10
in the
teams.
ACC.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
Louisville lost the other night,
Yeah,
right?
Louisville lost, but ACC is just deep. I mean, it's. But another team I'll throw out there is Baylor. Baylor is pushing Kansas in the Big 12. I think Kansas won the Big 12 like 12 years in a row now, and they're up there at the top, and they're a long, athletic, talented team that can be tough to match up against and cause some people some problems. Maybe not quite the experience that Villanova has, or Kansas, or Carolina, somebody like that, but a talented team who's been to the NCAA tournament, a lot recently. So Baylor is somebody to kind of take a deep breath and watch out when they play.
Yeah.
And Florida. The Florida Gators. They've had some good wins lately.
Florida's rising. I'm still not sure on the SEC how good they are. Kentucky's played 5 games now. They're 2-3 in their last 5, but very easily could have been 1-4 or 0-5 the way they're playing. South Carolina lost in 4 overtimes. Florida's looking good, but the SEC as a whole, I think, is improving, but they're all kind of holding each other back in a sense. And the Big Ten, I'm a Big Ten fan. Kind of the same thing. Wisconsin looks really good, but Maryland lost a recent game. Michigan State's down this year, and it's
Michigan
interesting.
beat Michigan State.
Michigan beat Michigan State. Indiana, who is my team, is down. Purdue looks good, but a lot of parity in the Big Ten this year. But I would say if the championship was today, I'd have to go with Villanova as my number one. If the championship were today, who would you?
I'm still going back with Kansas. It's hard to argue against Villanova because they've been there before, and so much of that grand spectacle that is the NCAA tournament championship game is having been there before. So it's hard to say, hard to argue against you, but I could see Kansas as just being that team there that can contend there as well. And so, but typical of the NCAA tournament, and starting about this time, you're going to March, something unexpected that nobody was seeing will happen. I don't know what it is, but the unforeseen or the unexpected will happen sometime in the next 6 weeks.
Yeah.
It's just a team gets hot, and all of a sudden nobody saw it coming. It happens.
Right. Well, we want to thank you for joining us today. I know we covered a lot of different topics, and hopefully you found that enjoyable. We'll come back next week at 11:30 Central. Topic to be determined. I know we've got college basketball heating up. Spring training is about to start for baseball. A couple other things are going on, but we'll be back next week at 11:30 Central Time from the United States Sports Academy, and we hope you all have a great week in sports.